Welcome to Biggest Geek Ass. We're your hosts. I'm Randy.
I'm Joe.
This is episode 198 of our show, and the date is Tuesday, July 16th, 2024.
24.
What is up, my good man?
2024. It's unbelievable. That the half the year practically is actually more than half the year is gone already.
Can't believe Patrick almost missed it. Dang it, dude. We got the crowd rolling in. Patrick Iron Man, Larry Elliott, even Bo Paints Mini stopped by for a couple of comments.
There's Mac.
There's Mac in the house. Mac Thompson, the man, the myth, the legend. And Shadow and Son and his friend RPG Grandma. Welcome to her. She's new in the show.
Yay!
Glad to see her stop on by and put up with our goofy butts for a while. So, how's your week been, my brother? Did you get back to it?
I started back to work yesterday.
Oh, boo. Boo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was about time. I was so bored.
Mm-hmm. I bet you were. Because, I mean, it's cool to be off, but after a while, you're like, oh, gosh, come on.
Well, I wasn't just off.
Yeah, you were incapacitated.
Well, there's not a whole lot you can do when one of your fingers is unusable. I mean, yeah. I can carry around things with one hand, but.
It doesn't compare to yours, but my little boo-boo here, we've been rescuing, taking care of some feral cats today, and one got me on the finger. I scared her.
Oh, boy.
Deb made a good point. I mean, 6'2", pushing 3 bills. I'm a little intimidating when the little kitty cat sees me.
Oh, sure.
So, but she's all right. We got her taken care of. She didn't take a chunk out of me. She went through some gloves, though, and took a little bitey poo. But we took care of that, which is a good thing. And
that's really interesting because while I was doing my route, there was a little puppy that was loose.
Oh, no.
And so, Trumbull Street's pretty busy.
Mm-hmm.
Trumbull is busy. It's a major kind of vein through Bay City. Lots of trucks come through there going from, A to B. And there was a little puppy right there. Have a bunch of houses there. It's resident, goes right through a residential area. There's a dog, little puppy, and he was just running around.
Sure. He's like, I don't know what's going on. This is crazy. Yeah.
So we live nearby,
mm-hmm.
and so I called my wife and said, hey, there's a puppy loose, and we rounded it up, and I knocked on some doors right there to see if it was someone who lived there, and eventually the lady came out and we were able to get to the right owner. So, little puppy, cute as can be.
I favor dogs over cats. My wife's a big cat person. She likes them all. It doesn't matter. My wife could have been Mrs. Doolittle.
Right.
Your wife's crazy about animals. She's like, I want to have a raccoon and I want to have a turtle. Oh, that elephant looks awesome. Man, I'd love a tiger. Yeah, like, good Lord, get out of here. So, but, you do what you can. So
octopus, shark.
Yeah, well, your wife wouldn't want a shark.
No. She would want an octopus, though.
Yeah, she would. My wife would, too. She thinks they're adorable. So, yeah, so they get those suckers all over your head, and they're like, hello. So, but, yeah, so I don't know. It's like this is late, but Kyle Brinks, he left Watsy this week, right? Early this week or last week?
This week or last week?
Last week. It happened.
We're a week behind on this stuff.
We're always behind. It's not a big deal, but it's good that I'm glad he's following his heart, what he really feels about, white men. They can't get out of the hobby soon enough. So he gave up his VP or whatever position was at Watsy, I'm sure, for some person of color.
Whatever.
I don't know.
It's been a year-ish since he made his dumb comment, right, about white people, even though he's a white people himself.
Well, we just heard of it. RPG Grandma says Kyle left in May. Yeah, but I had just heard about it last week, so I'm behind the curveball.
Yeah, there's some maybe it's just going through my feed and recommendations and whatnot that I saw something about Brinks. So
Yeah. RPG Grandma says LinkedIn has his resume. I'm sure he'll get hired in some place where he can then preach the virtues of not being white or a man and then getting out of that particular job too. So should work out really good for him.
yeah,
So I wish him the best. I hope he gets a job and loses it as fast as he realizes he's the wrong color and sex. So good for him.
yeah,
Did you get any gaming in this week, my man?
yes. Though it was anticlimactic.
Yeah, that's right. We played Horde Wars.
We played Horde Wars and we were involved in a complete TPK.
Oh my god! You know what could I have done? They said try to raise somebody else from the dead, but I mean, like, then turn my back on that beholder thing. I thought after Larry had put the hammer on that thing that I'd at least be able to rush. I was praying for a crit, but it didn't work out. And you tried. I mean, you hid, and then but as soon as they got Brian's character, Brian plays a big fighter work guy, and got him charmed. I was like, oh, this is nerve wracking. Then he killed Larry, I guess, and then came after you, and then it was just a downward spiral. Yeah, we got smoked in like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, your character and mine were the last two because he caught us both in the same lightning bolt.
Right.
Which I counterspelled successfully, but then he counterspelled right back, which sucked.
Well, I think I had a D&D-ism going on in my head because I assumed that since he was completely seemed to be immune to all your magic, some way counterspelling or getting rid of it, I thought, what's the point in me casting something like Slumber or, Thorn Whip or whatever? He's just immune to all that. So I didn't even think about my spells to try to affect him.
Right. Well, no. Probably could have brought one of us back, but that might have just
delayed the inevitable.
May have.
Yeah, I mean, I'd already tried to heal a couple folks, so, but I was feeling kind of kamikaze anyway when I jumped through that illusion, or was it over the pit and just got teleported. That was a cool trap. So
yeah, I like the trap.
Yeah, I was afraid I was going to be. Can you imagine if I hadn't had fly on, dude? Right down that shaft, that would have been bad news, man.
Weren't you still tied to that rope though? No, that was the other guy.
Yes, I was. I was tied to the rope, and so was Brian.
Yeah.
And when I went through, Brian got stuck in a weird place, and I got stuck, and we all played stuck. So it was crazy, but it was still pretty fun. But it was kind of quickly deteriorated. But I was thinking, man, this is the Horde Wars version of a Beholder. This cannot go that well, and it didn't. I also played Saturday. I got a game in our very own Halcyon, who shows up here periodically, and Mr. Demo and a couple others joined us. Our Minders game got put on the shelf due to summer fun stuff.
Summer fun.
And then we played Fallout, the RPG. And I'm not a huge Fallout guy. I'd never played the video games. I did watch the hey, Darth made it. Sweet.
Yay, Darth.
But it was fun. I think the system is kind of intriguing with that D6 on the table that goes up and down depending on different successes you roll and their extra rolls and stuff. It was not a bad little system. I see the allure of it the last year, 2 years at Cabin Con. The boys have really enjoyed that game, so I kind of see it. So it's not a bad system. Fallout, and apparently they did that for Conan. They're doing that for a few other systems too. Nerdy Ogre. Howdy, howdy. Yeah. My old Palladium buddy. Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Bo. He said he really liked, Bo Paints Mini says he really liked the Fallout show. I binged it and would love to play a campaign. The world is pretty cool. I will give it that. And it was richer than I thought because we just played Vault Dwellers. So we all had a Pit Boy, which is like a little machine that does a lot of cool stuff for you on your wrist-sized machine. But you can play mutants, and I think you can even play what's called a ghoul. I don't know if you've seen this. Have you seen the show, Joe?
Yeah.
It was decent. I mean, that last episode's kind of lame, but I enjoyed it.
There were some annoying bits, but
overall, it was palatable. And I think I can't wait to see, encounter one of the Brotherhood of Steel in the game. I bet they're pretty awesome. So, but
yeah, anyway. I've had some folks tell me that some folks said they did the Brotherhood of Steel okay, and some other folks said that they did not.
Most folks I talked to didn't like it. Houskin was not a fan of the show, but he loves the game, the video games, and he loved the RPG. He ran it. We had a good time. So I was afraid of that Bo. He says he's not anxious to give Modifius his money. I have heard some things that they are not a great company, which makes me sad because Patrick told me they're making a game off a video game called Might and Magic, and it's going to be their true high fantasy game. So, what do you think, Joe? You don't like that?
Popular. They're a popular game company.
Yeah.
They just have
a lot of woke crap.
Practices that they have opinions.
Yep.
I don't know how much they put it in their games. They don't have the little, if you're, if you belong to the folks we don't like, you shouldn't play our game crowd. I don't know if they're that, but I haven't really paid attention to it in a while, so maybe they are. I know that they have that, Gamma World.
Gamma World's good.
They had the guys with the lists, and they didn't make the list.
Oh,
right. Oh, not that I'm not in the market for buying a new game.
Yeah. I can't imagine that. I don't know. Patrick made me kind of like it. He said currently Modifius 2D20 system is used for Fallout, Conan, Star Trek, and soon to be Heroes of Might and Magic. I will probably let Patrick buy it, and then I'll give it a try. But if they're that super woke, I don't know, man. I may have to punt. Oh, RPG Grandma bringing up the old school. Look at this. Metamorphosis Alpha. I believe that's a Jim Ward original, man. Back in the day. Represent. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Max says, I've given up on the new shows. Sick of woke crap. Yeah, there's a little bit even in the Fallout show that was very annoying.
Yeah, tell me, man. I feel you. Just TV's hardly even worth it. Turn it on. Yep. I just go back and watch reruns of old crap I used to like.
If it's independent, is one thing, and you can find some decent stuff out there that doesn't have any of that in it.
Yeah.
But you have to take the risk when you turn on a show that it's going to have that.
Yeah, it's just so much. I just get so tired of it. And like I said, I thought Fallout was less in your face about it, though there was a little bit. I don't know. It's just, I think my radar's up. So whenever something like that happens, I'm usually a little more. I stuck it out because it was quirky enough with the 50s.
So RPG Grandma says, yeah, just add what you like from the video game Might and Magic to your RPG. But I played it a little bit back in the day.
Right.
And I was actually trying to see if I could find maybe a free version that I could play on my regular computer just to see what I missed. But I don't know what Heroes of Might and Magic has unique to it that's not part of regular high fantasy RPGs. So that would be cool. So those of you that are really familiar with it, if you could ring out some of that stuff in the chat.
Yeah, I'd love to know what's special about it. I bet Patrick will probably nail us with a whole bunch of stuff. He knows he knows that really well. I think he's played all the versions of that Might and Magic 42. It's like Fallout 96 versions.
I might even still have a disc of Heroes of Might and Magic 7 or 8 somewhere around here.
Dude, there's nerdy. Just play Palladium. It can do any genre. Patrick makes a bold claim. He says, if we didn't play anything because of a difference of opinion with the creators, I think we'd have 3 games to play. Also, think the woke pejorative is thrown around too much in my opinion. Look, dude, I'm going to say this much. Give me another word. I don't know a better word. Someone that we should say, people that live off the identity, especially immutable characteristics. And if you don't want to call it woke, that's fine. But it's just inundates society. And I think if it was just the creators that I had a different opinion of, I wouldn't care. When they infuse their game with that kind of politics, I'm out.
Right. So something like Thirsty Sword Lesbians, not interested.
There you go, Bo. Thank you. Very succinctly.
Yeah. So I don't know that Modifius does that. So, except they probably have the whole gendered words like they.
Oh, good.
Referring to a person.
But Patrick is right. If I were to bet, I probably couldn't find. I won't say that. There's some good game companies. All the game companies, there's some that would be fine.
Yeah, Steve Jackson Games. Yeah, because if you, I'm not Steve Jackson, but Kovalik, the artist,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's like pretty left,
Yeah.
but he doesn't put that in his
Nope.
art.
Nope.
He doesn't, and they don't put that in their games over at Steve Jackson Games. They're just games.
And you know, I had a friend say this once. If you want to put it in there, make it subtle. Make it really artistic, where you have to think about it to see, oh, I think that's kind of a parallel of Marxist manifesto. You know, where you have to really think about it rather than just throw it right in your face.
Doc Flamingo,
I don't recognize him, but
welcome
welcome, dude.
to the channel. He obviously, hold on,
Yeah, you
he
missed him.
obviously is a friend or a hanger on of Shadow.
Thank you,
Thank
my
you,
man.
Shadow, for bringing somebody else. Thank you for
Yeah,
the sub.
yeah,
Mr.
much
Doc
appreciated.
Flamingo. We are inching toward 500. We busted over 480 very recently, and so hopefully we can take it over the 500 mark very soon.
But I'll also agree with Patrick had a comment at 740 something. What I meant was I think we're too quick to find the very first thing we don't like and declare. Yeah, I think that's fair. But I think again, I think that's fair, Patrick. But I will say that I think they've caused that. It's been caused by a lot of people in the hobby, a lot of bad actors that just want to push all their identity
So,
politics, all those chips in the table every time front and center. It's like, can you let it rest just for
yeah,
a minute?
if I don't hear from them, except here's a new game, it's pretty cool, and I like the game, then I don't care about them as a company or people. If it's a good game, and I can't tell from the game, looking at it or anything, that there's anything to not like, then who cares?
Yep. And RPG Grandma makes a good point. She says she's tired of being told I was oppressed by people and not allowed to play. Made a comment on how they kind of poo-poo on the older generation. A lot of the old school people get pooped on.
Yeah.
I guess Joe and I we're of the right age to be old school people, but we don't do as many old school games as we used to.
No, but we were there back in the day.
Yeah, we were.
Nobody that we know,
Mm-hmm.
or nobody that we knows
Mm-hmm.
anyone who did any of this supposed alleged crap that they keep, whatever.
Yeah, we started with basic D&D, not the old D&D, but I remember hearing about it, and we played with the basic box set stuff. But I know I'm considered old school. In fact, this weekend I was telling Joe, I don't know if I said it, I'm going to run Horde Wars for my younger group of cousins, call them the second cousins roughly, and they're big D&D and RPG fans. A couple of them are way into it, heavy duty. I'm going to introduce them to Horde Wars, and they know when cousin Randy shows up, it's going to be a little more hardcore.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because it was hardcore. The old games were tough to live in. Your characters died all the time. Yeah, I've seen some Steve Jackson rants.
Yeah.
The thing is, he keeps that stuff in his rants, because Patrick Demo says, as far as Steve Jackson Games is concerned, I got to say Steve Jackson himself has done some epic unhinged, drool stupid rants enough to paint the whole company that way. Well, as far as I know, Steve Jackson is practically the whole company, though, except for the stuff that he is it John Kovalik who does the art on a lot of his stuff. But as far as all the writing, I think he does almost everything, and then he parcels out the publishing part to other people. But the game creation part, I think it's all him.
Yeah.
Unless it's changed fairly recently. But
And
that's fine.
And in the end, I don't care if you want to play Thirsty Sword Lesbians or you want to support Fate, go ahead. They're not for me. You want to support WotC, go ahead. I think those are both bad moves, but do whatever you want. If you like it, if you can ignore the stuff. I've seen some guys on X make comments like, I just don't pay attention to dumb crap. I use what I want. Go ahead, dude. I don't want to give them my money. So, and that's each person makes their own decision.
I didn't know he had that many folks.
Well,
apparently there's 43 guys over there with Steve Jackson. All righty.
He does more than RPGs.
Corrected. Oh, yeah, he does a bunch of stuff. So, also, I have to say that there's some hate going on in this chat room.
Who are they hating?
They are hating high fantasy.
What? Inconceivable.
Both Paints Minis.
I knew it was Bo. I had a feeling. I had a feeling it was Bo.
I'm totally surprised.
I'm not. That rascal. Dang
Both
it.
Things Mini says, and stop pushing high fantasy so much. How about a sword and sorcery game for a change?
No, you can't have any. It's all high fantasy.
How about fusing them together in one awesome thing?
How about super low, low, medium, high, and unbelievably high, all in one game? Mud Sword.
What sword?
So, yeah, I mean, each their own. It's funny because I felt the other way. I've seen a lot of low fantasy games, and they like,
Yes, Bo
he
says I'm
should
so
be.
ashamed. He should be.
I do like high fantasy better. You guys know me. I like plane hopping. I like 20th level characters. I like fighting potentially deposing gods. I don't care. Let's do it.
Becoming.
Gonzo doesn't have to be. Gonzo's okay, but it's got to be high level action. That's where I really love it. So, Cal, he's right into it. He says, so many played complete. Oh, wait a minute. He's not saying completely high. Oh, you don't mean smoking weed. Somehow I'm not shocked. Cal
No, we're not talking about weed.
No.
Although we're in Bay City, so we might be talking about weed because Bay
True.
City is like, well, maybe not the only weed capital of Michigan, but it probably is.
Michigan's had it legal for a while.
But yeah, we got so many. We're a small town. I mean, we're okay. 30,000.
That's small. Medium small.
Medium small. 30,000. We got probably 50, 60, 70 weed shops.
Yeah, we got a boatload of them.
Every street has 2 or 3.
I remember years ago when it became legal, Joe. It was like the very next day, you went outside driving your car with the window down, and you could smell it everywhere. I was like, "What happened? Who flipped the switch?"
And, if someone wants to smoke it, I don't care. I didn't care when it was legal. It's just a plant. As much as folks say differently, it's not up to me to tell you what to do. So I don't like the smell of it. There's no way I could smoke it.
Yeah, no way. Yeah, Shadow was asking if I need to invite him to a game. I said, well, I am currently running a Savage Worlds high fantasy game. So lots of magic items given out constantly, treasure everywhere Joe looks. It's that kind of game. It's crazy.
Wow.
So anyway.
So RPG Grandma says they are selling it at the California State Fair this year, which I don't doubt. But how long have they had it legal? And is there how bad are the taxes out there? I know in Colorado they had some issues with the taxes really going up.
Okay, I'm really starting to like this RPG Grandma. Savage Worlds is fun. She is correct. She's 100% correct. And Iron Man says Bay City has gone to pot. Right on.
Doc Flamingo, what drugs do you think are popular with fantasy races? I imagine elves are clearly potheads. Dwarves are heavy into blow, and orcs are clearly meth freaks. Well, I would definitely peg goblins as meth freaks as well. Orcs, sure. What was it? I'm trying to remember. There's a book I read where they had something like that. I'm trying to remember the drug that they had. Okay. So there's it's a parody book about an interdimensional insurance salesman. So he sells insurance in case dimensions collide.
Right.
And so they pay out in case one dimension is at fault, when they collide. And he's also a cybernetic, he's a cyborg, genetically enhanced superhero as well.
Right.
So he has to actually intervene. Anyway, it's funny.
Bo's going to canonical facts, though. He says hobbits are into the weed.
Into the weed.
It's even in the book. He's right.
So there was this, dolphins are the bad guys in this book. And the dolphins are pufferfish addicts, apparently. So.
All right. You want to tell them to do the things? We'll be cool and do that before we start the first
let's do it
big
before.
thing.
Change everything. Subscribe, like, share, hit that bell notification. Tell your friends about us. And and your enemies. If
Yeah,
you
your
have
enemies especially, because they'll love
Yeah.
hearing us. And they'll be, who are these right-wing nutbags? I love them.
Yep, Mac, you know it.
Unless
Fine.
unless you're a left-wing nutbag, and therefore your friends will like us. Your enemies will like us.
Right. So the book that I was just talking about is narrated on Audible. I think it's may only be on Audible by Adam Baldwin,
Okay.
the good one. Adam's the good one. That's funny.
Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking a little bit. I titled it, a nice big, what do they call it? Whenever the phrase clickbait
Clickbait.
edition wars. I'm going to take a different tack, though, maybe a little different. I'm sure we'll get into warring, classic warring. I want to kind of compare how some of the editions, popular games, with how they really focus on value. So, are they valuable to the company? Probably, obviously, not always. The players, the GMs, and your pocketbook. So, the idea of new editions. I did a quick, dude. I'm sort of enamored of ChatGPT. I hate to say it, but
You have been corrupted by the AI.
I have. I think I've been
Not
corrupted.
you haven't. You haven't. It's not that you've been corrupted by AI.
Yeah.
You've been corrupted by the AI.
And so what I looked at were the top 10 RPGs according to ChatGPT. They had Dungeons & Dragons #1. Their current edition is 5e since 2014. Looks like Call of Cthulhu, just by sheer numbers, is #1. They had a 7th edition that came out in 2014. Shadowrun has had a recent 6th edition in 2019. Looks like the most recent edition bump was 2023 for Pathfinder 2E Remastered. So it'd be almost like when 4th edition did the, like 3rd edition, then the half edition, 3.5. And when 4th edition, what was that one called where they tried to mess around with the rules? I forgot what was it called. 4th edition, Essentials, which they said was not an edition, but whatever.
So they've done that with 2E already?
Yeah, it's been remastered. But I think it's more reorganization and stuff, but still, I know it's crazy.
I mean, okay, I lose track of the years. So
Yeah.
I didn't really realize the 5th edition's already been out almost 10 years.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, it's had its run.
Right. But
2nd edition came out.
Pathfinder 2nd edition hasn't been that long, has it?
No, I don't think so. Let's see. Why am I not finding it? Pathfinder 2E release date. I want to check this out. 2020. What? Oh, hold on. The remaster project's not going to be due out till 2024.
When in 2024? Because it is 2024.
Right, of course. It says August. So Gen Con probably. Yeah, that sounds about right. And Pathfinder 2nd edition came out in March 2018, it looks like. So it's been 6 years.
6 years?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't realize it had been out. I mean, still not that long, really.
Oh, Killraven says something. Hey, Killraven, welcome. Haven't seen you for a while. PF2E Remaster was to get rid of the OGL stuff. Oh, okay.
Well, that's understandable then.
Yeah, it is. I can't blame
Yeah,
them.
anybody who does like a re-up this year, or maybe they started last year, it's all understandable with the OGL mess.
It's like the Troll Lords. They're doing their 10th edition for Castles and Crusades to get rid of the OGL. You should be proud of me, Joe. I did not back that Kickstarter. My wallet was happy. I felt sad because I really wanted to give them money because honestly, I love the fact they're getting out of the OGL. But dude, I just bought the other stuff. I did After Winter Dark campaign. I spent several $100s on that stuff, and I've yet to get it to my table. So gotta put the brakes on. But that's leading to my discussion. So why do companies make them? Why are we talking about 6th edition D&D? Why are we talking about 7th edition Shadowrun, which we're not talking about yet?
I think it's a number of factors.
Okay.
I mean, old BECME D&D became advanced D&D because some say it was, barring a bunch of rumors, a lot of folks, well, actually it's not barring rumors. Gary Gygax wanted sold his name, only his name on it. So in a bid to kind of push Arneson out of the picture.
That seems to be the case.
And some people say it was because he wanted to incorporate a bunch of tournament stuff that he was doing in tournament play into the game, and that was another thing that happened. I'm not sure about why 2E happened, though, as far as all that is concerned.
Probably to get clean from Gygax.
Clean it up from Gygax, right.
I mean, Flatey and Bo both essentially said this. Flatey one said money. I mean, that's the most obvious thing. A new edition.
A business wants to make money.
Yep.
One way to do it in this industry is to make a new edition of the game.
I think Bo has the highest percentage of accuracy here. AD&D was to kick out Arneson, 2 was to kick out Gygax officially. I think I've been listening to this podcast when we were Wizards. I've got Secrets of Blackmore. I listened to a bunch of crap, and I've read some things. I feel like the AD&D was definitely Gygax's move to cut Arneson out. Mm-hmm. And second edition was, they'd already booted Gary, and they're like, we're going to make an edition so they can forget his name.
Right. And then third edition was because Wizards of the Coast bought the company and wanted to do their own thing. And then all of the editions since then was them just wanting to do their own thing.
Well, look at something like Savage Worlds then. Let's go away from D&D for a second. They had the original book. I bought a copy just to own it. Hold on for a second.
I don't know if I have the original. I
bought it on eBay. Hold on. And this is not the Savage Worlds rule, but it's Suede. But this is the original.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we never played this one. We got in at the Explorers edition, and when they made changes, now from this edition, there's some fairly significant differences in the game.
Oh, really?
But when you get to the Explorers edition, not much changed. So short of, and I guess I kind of wonder, and even like Castles and Crusades, they print they're in the 10th edition, and I guess it seems like money because they hardly change much of anything. I know they made a big change with the Illusionist one, but
they did what?
Castles and Crusades changed with the Illusionist once. Yes, Doc Flamingo, I agree. He says they want to talk about D&D, so we might talk about D&D more. Well, Gygax is working on 2E, though he said what came out was way off from what he planned. Oh yeah, I have no doubt. No doubt Gygax. Oh, Bo kept going. 3E was to kick TSR out.
Well, they had already been kicked out.
Yeah, they've been bought. Yeah,
they've been bought. And apparently there were a lot of people that were working at TSR that Wizards of the Coast hired. Well, at least a few.
Yeah, but I know I don't want to go fully down that whole rabbit hole of why it happened, but I was like, it does feel like it's just money. Is it always a cash grab, though? I'm sure it's about money.
Well,
because the player's handbook, the core books sell higher than any of the supplements.
What do we mean by cash grab? So are we saying
we're just doing it just to make money, no other reason?
Just no other reason, just to make money. It's hard to say because everything that these guys do after a certain point is done to make money.
Right, but don't you think? See, I won't say it's cash grab, not even for D&D. I think a part of them, they just hear from their audience problems they have with the game. And people are in their ear now with the internet nonstop. It's even worse since second ed, the end of second ed. The internet's all in their ear, and they're saying, oh, this is broken, that's broken. So
see you later, Bo.
Thanks for hanging out, bud. We appreciate it. And so I think part of it is, yes, it's a business model. Yes, we're going to sell more core books, but you got to be careful because D&D has alienated older audiences with new, think about going from, I don't know how well, I guess they were floating in money. So was second better or worse than AD&D? I think it's got to be less copies than AD&D. AD&D was a phenomenon.
And the thing is, second edition, I know some people will go, oh, how dare you say this? First and second edition are very close.
Very.
Okay, compared to a lot of the other edition changes. Third edition is when people really started looking back at older editions and the whole grognard thing and can't remember the terminology now. OSR, right? That whole OSR thing started in third edition era and gained steam later. But yeah, they can get people angry if they make certain kinds of changes.
Well, Larry Elliott and RPG Grandma has couple really good comments. Larry Elliott says, attempt to keep in fresh to get new players as well to keep older players spending money. Maybe. I think new players is thing because it's hard once a game is long in the tooth, like say second edition D&D. There's so much stuff, it can feel oppressive. And RPG Grandma says games do evolve.
Right.
That's kind of what I was getting at because the players start saying, oh, third edition, man, power attack and this thing is broken. It's broken. That was a big word in second and third edition, talking about things being broken. And, I remember they say things like in the Splat books, like the Complete Fighters, they talked about certain kits, put restrictions on you that were purely RP, but they would give you tremendous combat advantages. And unless the DM fully pushed that RP, then those classes will become completely broken. And I'm not arguing the merit of that. I'm just saying I could see how if enough people complain that way, it could be an attempt to, well, we need to make that and fix that. Doc Flamingo says this, 1E D&D needed a cleanup. It read like it was edited by someone with a head full of acid. Right. It could be a cleanup thing. And RPG, I think you're right on this. RPG Grandma, the general cycle is basic to crunch, then streamline and simplify, then add more back in, so it goes. Yeah, they kind of go back to basics, and then they start adding more and more stuff, and then it gets out of control.
But
there seems to be
there's got to be motivation for them to even do development in the game beyond.
Right, because once you make the core, mm-hmm.
So unless you're making adventures or support material for what you've already made and not change rules around or add too many new rules components, you just put in support material that already supports what you've made or supports what you've already made. So
D&D technically could be called like on 9 or 10 editions, because if you want to count the half editions, if you want to count the Eric J. Holmes versus the Mold Bay Cook versus the Mincer Basic, that's 3 in one, 3 things in one basic set, 3 different versions. So you could add that. But I think it's interesting. I don't think it's all just we need money, money, money. And sometimes it's practical. I mean, how many companies can really survive on just their core game? Now, there is a company that I think Nerdy Ogre loves. They've stuck to their guns mostly, but I would argue they keep adding new and new RCCs and OCCs that it's kind of like changing the game.
Yeah. So I agree with Killraven. And welcome, by the way, if I didn't see you before in the chat. Kits were a good idea, but completely worthless as presented. You had a small handful that were worth taking, and the rest were trash, and in some cases made your character worse off. It was silly. Right. So I remember people like wondering if they actually play tested this stuff, and some other folks who said they were in the know said no, they just put the stuff together, printed it out, and sent it out. So some of those kits. Yeah, because there were lots of those kit books, and a lot of it was like, I just wasted my money on this whole book. Yeah, and you're all muted.
I'm muted. I was going to say the game that Palladium, which I didn't name, but I will now because I do love those guys. I am kind of impressed the mileage they've gotten out of a core system that's essentially the same. But I would also argue that D&D's core system has mostly been the same. Roll a d20, hit an armor class. Now, how you calculate the armor class is different, but I think Palladium's been more clearly consistent. I mean, you could be a guy who paid Palladium in 89 and hasn't played till now, and it's still going to have the same kind of books that you're pretty darn familiar with.
Right.
Yeah. In your opinion, when might a new edition be necessary or worthwhile, or man, I want to do it? And I'm thinking now specifically D&D because we've had the most experience with it. You and I had at least 2 phases in our career where we thought, I had 2, you had for sure 1, where you thought it was time for a new edition.
I think that it would depend, right? Necessary to me, a new edition would be if they put a bunch of material out, like a lot of times with TSR or Wizards of the Coast have done. They put out a ton of material, often contradictory or poorly edited, and they need to do addition to or they, it would have been nice if they put out a new edition that simply revised their material into a core set of rules and maintained the lore.
Yep.
But they always felt like whenever it might be just change in ownership or change in who's directing, who's their creative director, they seemed to always want to, in addition to changing the rules, and not necessarily making them concise or better produced. Here's a new set of rules, and we're going to change all of the lore. We're going to change so much of it that it's hardly the same lore anymore. So you can't claim, you can't then go back and say, well, they've changed like these days. You can't say that they've changed this recently. Well, they've changed it almost every edition.
Yes.
They've changed how drow work.
Yes.
They've changed how all these things work fundamentally, a lot of things fundamentally.
Do you think AD&D, short of the modules being the shared experience most people had, they played Hamlet, they played Temple, they played Against the Giants, short of that, there didn't seem to be too much lore in the AD&D, basic, or OD&D game. It wasn't a lore game. Greyhawk had a setting, and there were modules, but
But
seems
that's kind of lore too.
Okay, if you want to call that lore, sure. Okay, fair enough.
A little.
Yeah.
It wasn't as heavy. Like Asarak is lore, whoever Asarak is. But but it was lore light.
He was all but a name in
Yeah.
Tomb of Horrors, Sararak. And he became something much, much more. RPG Grandma says something I agree. Blowing up the system is really annoying, or trashing the history. If you trash the lore, I do get annoyed. That bothers me more than changing the mechanics. But maybe you could argue sometimes to change the mechanics, you need to change the lore, but I won't go down that road. I think an edition can be necessary. Like I look at my pile of 3rd edition books that I have. When you get so many books and it becomes like they had them, Book of Magic, Book of Dragons, Book of Dragon Magic. I say that because that literally happened in 3rd edition.
Yeah.
And they said if you put the word dragon or magic in a book, it sells much better than otherwise. So after a while, you're like, what are we doing? We're at a point where it's just not working. And I don't know if you're saying this. Here's what I heard you say, though, Joe. It would be nice if they would go, okay, the Ranger kind of sucks in 3rd edition. And then you have this. What was that class you played? Was it a Slayer? No, what was that one?
Yeah,
the
that
Slayer.
was Pathfinder.
Oh no! Then what was the one that you played where you could run
Scout.
around? Scout. And you and I both said, "Dude, that's a much better Ranger." And it came out late in the life cycle of 3.5. Why don't they go? Okay, Ranger kind of sucky suck. Let's build a new Ranger in the new version of the game that keeps the core mechanics but makes him more scoutish.
Right.
That would be interesting. And for Pathfinder, instead of we're going to have a witch and a wizard and a this and a that, let's go with an arcanist and let's play around with it and go with that as our core wizard.
Right.
That would feel a little more comfortable for those that feel like, it looks like all the rules are being scrapped. Yeah.
It would be one thing if that's what they did, but instead they just said, let's do it all. Let's have the Ranger and the Scout and 5 different other classes that are Ranger-like, that are adjacent to the Ranger, but they're just slightly different.
Yeah, I agree, Killraven. He was better than Ranger and the Rogue. So bloat can cause that. The players, I thought, for us, I thought you and I were feeling 3rd edition's weight, and we were ready for 4th, but it didn't. It completely disappointed.
Well, see, and I don't know why I was hopeful, because when they were announcing 3.5, I was like, okay, they're going to. I don't think I said they're going to. I was like, hopefully, it's just a revision that they put out in a pamphlet or something like that. Because initially it was like, there's a few things we think we overpowered or did wrong. Not very many, 5 or 6. And I was like, oh, that's a pamphlet. But no, once they decided they were going to change those 5 things, whatever it was. Maybe 5 might be the right number, but it's pretty close to how they initially presented it.
Yes.
They said, since we're doing this, we're just going to revise the whole thing.
And I initially played with 3 and 3.5 both. Let people
Yeah.
pick what they wanted, but that got stupid.
Yeah.
It was already done. But now Shadow's being bold here. It's been a long time, and I sort of agree. I think they were solid. The 1E Ranger was the best ever. He was a solid character because he had the giant damage, but I still think he had some weirdness.
The
He wasn't
weirdness.
very rangery. I just kill giants. That's what I do.
Well, the issue I had with some of those classes, like the Ranger and the Paladin from first edition, is you didn't get some of your cooler stuff until you were name level.
Right.
So the Rangers and Paladins, they didn't get any spells until that around 8th or 9th, maybe 7th, probably.
And everybody knows that's when your characters retire.
Yeah. So
if you're going to play low fantasy, you're already a god. Oh, Bo's gone. Dang it.
Yeah.
There's another comment I wanted to mention. This is a good point. RPG Grandma says basic and AD&D could be converted between them. That was a value.
Mhm.
I tell you what, when I first started playing D&D, AD&D was fairly been around for a couple years, but I was still playing basic and I was mixing up modules, and it didn't matter. I could run basic modules with my AD&D rules and vice versa. It just didn't matter. Sometimes AD&D adventures, I remember seeing my first one and thinking, I don't understand some of this terminology, but it seems pretty obvious. And when I got the AD&D books, I was like, oh yeah, it was exactly what I thought it was. It wasn't much to do. It was, no conversion didn't cross my mind, so it's good that it didn't matter.
Right.
I had no thought about that. So, when it comes to those supplements, I don't think you can have too many supplements if they're right. But a game like Savage Worlds and even not Tunnels and Trolls, Castles and Crusades, they make really tiny incremental changes. But eventually, if you do that multiple times, the current Suede version of Savage Worlds, it's not massively different. I should have sat down and looked at it, but I think it's different enough. I mean, they actually have some bonuses to damage that aren't die types. They didn't have swords doing strength plus D4 or agility plus D6. It was just a straight up modifier +1, +2, +3. And then other things changed too. I mean, they've messed with Entangle, and already in the Suede edition, we found out Entangle has changed. So that's interesting. Were you ever just really disappointed in the mechanical changes, though, from one edition to another?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So I remember when we first got 3rd edition, and I was like, okay, let's see what this is up. What's up with this?
Yeah.
So clerics ended up having 8th and 9th level spells before they stopped at 7, and the number of spells they get was pretty huge. Plus, they get a lot of bonus spells, and I was like, all right, let's see how they treat the wizard. Of course, they screw the wizard over in comparison. So the big thing about 3rd edition was getting bonus spells based on a stat. Well, for some reason, the designers thought that wizards shouldn't have more than 4 0-level spells, even though they're pretty junk spells.
Especially in 3rd, they were junk.
Yeah, so you don't get more than 4. Clerics, they get like 15 or 20.
It was really weird.
Maybe not that many, but a lot. And I'm like, and it's a tiny thing, but it's just weird design decisions like that you're like, fine, whatever. You guys don't like wizards. That's all there is to it.
When do you get off the edition carousel? Because, I mean, I've stated before, I can't see myself going to another version of Savage Worlds.
Oh, when do you, in general?
Right, in general. Like, I don't see myself doing that. I don't see myself, well, for many reasons, I've punted on D&D as far as doing anything new with them. But when do you people that are Shadowrun fans, they're on 6th edition. People that are Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. I heard the changes in there are so minuscule, it's crazy.
Well, if it's our hobby is replete with editing problems.
Yes.
So be it just typos or organization problems, Palladium, or anything like that. Editing is a big problem across the board in many games. So if you get a new edition because you finally have a good layout. We finally have good organization. We've figured out how to do an actual index, and I think a lot of games don't have an index because it increases page count without value as far as they're concerned. So
when Mudsword comes out, we're going to have a well-edited index game.
right, the page is going to be 500 page. The book's going to be 500 pages, 400 pages of index.
Perfect. 100 pages of rules.
Right, 100 pages of rules, 400 pages of index.
But those 400 pages will all be in a PDF, so it'll still be cheap.
Yeah. So, if the new edition improves the previous edition in a very tangible way, and it's not just we changed the rules because we want to, good indexing is a lot of work.
It's hard, yeah.
Right. And so they want to work on the rules and not an index. And when people are like, I can't find anything in your dang book, why don't you have an index? And they're like, well, it's a lot of work. Yeah, it is.
Do it.
It's worth it, though, if you have a good-sized book.
Well, if you have a big,
big honking
colossal
mule
tome.
choker.
Well, it's the one I've got, that Weird Frontiers. It's 900 pages by DCC. 900
Hero
pages.
System version 6?
No, dude. I know.
It's huge.
Oh.
And the pages are it was very thin, super thin. So if the game is improved and it's not just these are the rules in this edition and these are the new rules in this edition, but the game hasn't really improved. You have the same kind of issues, editing, mistakes, not play tested appropriately. If balance is important to you, but there's no real, it's wonky, or they do weird things like with 5th edition. To me, they basically took D&D and put bubble wrap around it and said, here's 5th edition. And we don't like big numbers.
And armor class
5 or 6 is like the top. If it goes over 6, oh no, we can't handle that.
Yeah, right. RPG Grandma on fire still. Also, what happens is when the gaming community goes to mechanics fads, and those mechanics get added to other games, like advantage, disadvantage. You see that everywhere now.
Right.
And there was a time, weren't exploding dice pretty popular for a while? I don't know if Savage Worlds was the first tabletop game to do it, but it was a bit of a fad.
Right, because
dice pools.
I think dice pools. I think that there are fads, and then there's what is truly the value added.
Right.
Let's say D&D wanted to go from rolling a D20, adding modifiers to 3D6 or a dice pool. What is the actual value?
Correct.
Does it?
Yeah.
Some people will say it makes more sense.
I
don't know.
I'm not much of a designer. Joe and I were talking about that very thing. Joe he's currently intrigued by a dice poolish system. Yeah. I gave one for our skill system in Mudsword, and but doesn't fit the other part of mechanics. And I don't know if it's good or bad as far as like better than something else. I wonder if the mechanics. I think mechanics sometimes give you a feel. I think using like poker chips as bennies in Deadlands is awesome because it feels like you're in the Old West. But sometimes using those Benny chips in other games is kind of like, we do it, but it feels kind of weird. It's not really, it's just to keep track of your quote unquote hit points.
Right. So I don't know that. Okay. So if you have a game that doesn't work well, and I know a lot of people will say D&D doesn't work well.
Right.
For one reason or another, the hit point system, they feel that they're walking, you can have fighters walking around with 50 million arrows in them. And they still have one hit point. But, conceptually speaking, maybe that's not correct. That's their own issue with how hit points work.
Yeah, but if you want high fantasy, hit points is a simple way to do it.
Yeah, lots of hit points.
8th level got 97 hit points. Yes, you do, brother. You're hard to kill.
Yep.
Yeah. And this is why I like Savage Worlds, Max, because I look for fun setting and fairly easy to play run. Now, the setting is kind of a big deal now, and I've gone back and forth, but I feel like the rules should be baked in with the setting. They should feel like they're adding to the setting. They are complementing the setting.
Larry hasn't announced it. Eating jelly beans for re-rolls is going to be the next fad.
It, baby.
Glad to be part of the group that started that.
But only those weird jelly beans from Harry Potter. Our boy Ben, dude, he really was the initial mind behind the Minders campaign. and he used those beans for re-rolls, those jelly beans. Larry and I have paid incredible penalties for asking for re-rolls. It was awesome.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Randy and I were talking before we started here about one of the whys.
Yep.
And D&D, I don't know about other games, but D&D for sure has always had a kind of a DIY type of mentality. And it's expressed in the earliest books.
Mm-hmm.
Do your own thing, make your own stuff, blah, blah, blah.
Not so much in 5e, though. Not so much in 5e.
Yeah. No wonder. But it's so you hear this a lot. RPG Grandma says, I don't play pure D&D pure. I kitchen sink rules. Sure. And that's the oldest of us. Oh, I guess we're not necessarily, but it's been like that for a long time.
Even when I try to run a game, quote unquote raw, I never can. Right. Even the very first time I run a game, I do something on my own, off the cuff, and say, I like this better, or I'm not messing with this.
Right, and I think that it's annoying on this end when we have tweaked rules and we do our kitchen sink thing or whatever you call it, house rules. Well, the game shifts, and it's hard to. I guess it's not really hard, but it's annoying to have to reset your house rules all the time.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to. You don't have to buy the new editions.
Well, who's that cat from is it from Canada or is he California? The dude that had the at least Facebook reputation of running a 48-year D&D campaign, William something or other, and God bless him. But he says he uses stuff from all the editions of the game. And good power on him. Mark Thompson sounds like he had experience we did. He said, we tweaked the hell out of it, and inserted a whole bunch of stuff from Dragon Magazine and other sources. Yeah, but I learned my lesson from that.
Ninja. But.
Yep, Ninja. That was a big
lesson. It says clearly in the book, it's an NPC thing.
Correct.
And you let your cousin talk you into letting him play.
Illusionist Ninja killed Tiamat in that game, folks.
Yeah, with a grenade. But when you look at it just raw, when you just look at it first blush, it's like, it's no big deal. Except they use short swords that do D50 damage and long swords that can cut a planet in half. Or is that samurai?
Yeah, samurai.
Yeah, non-magical sharpness blades.
Though the second article on the Ninja turned them into super awesome, unstoppable machines of death. They could do all things.
Right.
Now, Max said something. I got to pause here. He said, I ran a 5e game using all 3E rules and settings and books. It was amazing. Sounds like you ran a 3E game.
Yes, that's what it sounds like.
That doesn't sound like a 5E game, dude.
No, not at all.
I don't know how that worked. I ran a 5E game using all 3E rules. Maybe he meant all 3E settings.
In books. But it says rules, settings, and books.
He used the books. So did they make characters from the 3E books or the 5E books?
He's got his sunglasses on.
He's too cool.
He's too cool.
He ain't telling. I represent, son. You got the skills. I'm not arguing. It just sounded crazy to a plebe like me.
Right.
When do you get off the edition carousel, Joe? Did we answer that question? I mean, when
I got off of it.
You got off of the RPG carousel. You don't even buy hardly.
Very seldom.
Very seldom.
But I stopped buying from Wizards with 3rd edition. I didn't buy 4th. I didn't buy 5th. And I'm not going to buy the next one.
No, I will not buy the next
kind of
one.
Game.
I caved. Did you not buy 4th at all? Because I did buy it.
No.
I bought the core set and I read
somebody else's and didn't like it.
Never ran a game, and I was like, I pre-ordered it. No, I didn't. I got it. Maybe from my local comic shop pre-ordered or something from my boy Cashman. But 4th edition I read it, never ran it, didn't care for it. 5th edition, set on my shelf for a couple of years. Then I played a good solid year, and just after all the WotC stuff, it turned me off. I initially was liking it and I was trying to convince Joe to do it, but after a while, I'm like, it's not a bad game. 5e is not crap, but it's all the other stuff. It's everything the company stands for. I just can't be down with it.
I think it's a wimpy game.
That's fair. I mean, it's fair. It's not as cool. It doesn't have the epic feel most games.
Doesn't have the epic feel. I mean, I like high level games, but it seemed at that point, and I heard it a lot as well in conversations, that the numbers are too big. The numbers are too big. Well, the numbers are too big. And fifth edition, we like small numbers here. The difference between a first level character, numerically, and a 20th level character is 4.
It drives you crazy, doesn't it?
I'm like, really? So their skill in a thing only increases by 4? I mean, it's dumb.
It does seem weird.
I mean, it's stupid. And then just the creative, if you want to call it creative, direction that they go in is just real lame.
And I think it's going to be worse. I mean, but it doesn't matter. Are there times so right now, are there any games out that you're like, man, I'd like to have that? That's a good question. Is there an edition out of some game that you're like, man, I'd like to have that?
Okay. Sometimes I know when 3rd edition came out, we were kind of wanting this new game. And then the 3rd edition got super bloated. So we're like, okay, it's time for something else.
Right.
They got to revise this and make it better. But then they made 4th edition, and it was stupid. So we went to Pathfinder, because initially Pathfinder was the revised 3rd edition.
Right, with 3.75.
But then they went bloaty as well, and then weird. And then they told you in their new edition that if you don't represent things that we want you to represent in your home game, you shouldn't be playing our game. So I stopped even looking at Paizo's stuff after that.
So Savage Worlds went to the next Super Deluxe edition. Would you be interested in buying that?
I don't know.
Currently, you only have the core book, right?
I have the core book for the current thing.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So, yeah. And I'm not interested. I think I'm just tired of it. And I'm hard pressed to be convinced to buy new games. I think I'm starting to get stronger, and my FOMO is dropping, right? And because I resisted, 2 years ago I would not have resisted Castles and Crusades revised, would not.
Savage. The difference is, okay, one, their books are inexpensive compared to a lot of other game companies.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier to buy into Savage Worlds.
Yes.
You buy one book, $15-20, right? As long as it's not one of the licensed things, those are usually a little more.
Right.
But I don't see any reason, if it's cheap, I wouldn't mind buying it.
Hold on. You said Savage Worlds? Hold on.
Yeah, the newest...
no, you're looking at $40. They're $40 now. Here's the Superpowers Companion.
I'm out.
That's $40. So
their books are small. They should not be charging $40 for.
Well, maybe they're 100, almost 200, 170, 75 pages, almost 200 pages actually, 190. I guess. Yeah, they're small. Yeah, you're paying more for the art and stuff. I know you're not a fan of that.
Well, a little art's fine, but if your book cost is jacked up because of art, not because of its content, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. We now Savage Worlds, they do give kind of a nod to the Alphabet Mafia and the DEI stuff, but they don't go totally crazy. But that's where I could say to Patrick, hey, I'll give them a little bit of a break. I'm a little merciful on Pinnacle. I don't go crazy on them, but they don't push too much. They do a little. There's a little bit of that in there. But all right, cool.
And I think that the company is stylistically going for the stuff I don't care for.
Yeah.
Just looking at some of its imagery and whatnot, it's just they're not saying it.
Yeah.
It's just in their imagery, I'll say.
Okay. I think that's kind of all I want to talk about with editions. What about you? Get more stuff down?
I mean, I think that your best bet, if you're a collector, you knock yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a Palladium collector and you want all Palladium all the time,
get them all.
You're never going to be off the train.
No.
But for me, I don't have that mentality. So
Right.
the next edition of Savage Worlds would really need to
Knock you off your.
change their creative imagery direction, and it would have to be some substantial improvement,
It
which I
couldn't
can't
be.
see. It's a pretty simple
No.
system.
Explorers editions to deluxe to adventure edition, I feel a little ripped off in terms of changes. There wasn't much to it. I guess if I'm buying into a whole new thing and rebuying Deadlands and rebuying this setting, I expect a little more.
Mhm.
But right now, no RPG in particular is really like floating my boat and saying, "Hey, man, this is the greatest thing ever."
Or if they did, let's say they did a revised, right?
Yeah,
And they only changed
revised.
a few things,
Hmm.
but they did a reprint with a new revision and typos corrected and all this. But they had a PDF download of the few changes that actually impact the rules. That would be a cool way to go too. New people can get into the game. Us old folks can just get the PDF. But not only the whole cash grab idea is not just getting in new blood. They want new blood and they want to maintain their current customer base, so they have to make a new edition that is a complete overhaul, or it's with no PDF thing that I was just mentioning. They're never going to do that because then folks like us will just get the PDF, even if it's at $5. Here's the updated stuff. There's not a whole lot of rules changes. Here you go. They will lose their pants.
Kill Raven. This man is always, he's like a step ahead of me or somewhere. We're competitive. He says he remembers being annoyed at how soon the new edition of Savage Worlds came out after they did the Rifts conversion. Yes, and then I bought into the new Rifts collection. That is aggravating. I spent way too much money for that. That was crazy. But nobody's fault but my own. I didn't have to get it. But guess who got it? Randy got it. I keep looking to the left, folks, because that's where my pile of crap is for the most part. On my overhead, I'll glance up. I just see all these stupid books I have. Now, Matt Thompson brought up a comment that might be worth discussing a little bit if you're interested. Out of print, great games going up in value. Here's what I'm going to take from his comment. It's not just the great value, is if you're into like I say, I really like second edition or first edition, and you didn't get all the stuff you wanted, you want to try to catch up now, that's pricey, unless you go through the drive-through. But if you want the original stuff, it's pricey.
Oh, sure.
So, Jason96, welcome. He says, what is this? RPG Grandma says, Edition Wars, sort of. We're talking about how RPGs go through editions and how you think of that. Values are skyrocketing. But if you're a collector like me, it's even worse, because if I was still playing AD&D, I would have to have books that are in mint condition and books that I play with. I would probably do that because I'm weird like that. I'm a comic book guy, and I've kind of cut that back a while, but still, I think it's pretty bad when you can't. I mean, it's just people like I don't have a first edition player's handbook anymore. I would love to find one, but man, good luck finding one on eBay. I don't want to pay. I'd like to have the original cover. That's even going quite a bit, $50 or $60. The original cover.
I don't have the original cover.
I'd like to have the original cover that I had back in the day. Good luck trying to get that. I don't know how many you watch certain editions. Like, go try to buy the first edition box set of Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. It's only on its third edition. The original print run was a box set, I think, by Talsorian, and so it was crazy. So Jason says he's going to get me a 1 ebook. He's awesome.
That hasn't even been out that long.
What's that? No, 3 editions, dude. We got the third one. That's what we're playing. That a few years ago, and $40 plus shipping, says Shadow and Sun. Where at for a 1E PHB? Okay, I haven't seen it, but I mean, I don't. $40 is not bad, but I've always seen it for more than that. Maybe I'm not looking in the right place, and maybe eBay is not the place to look. So,
well, there's a few other places that sell older books.
Yeah, I keep hoping I'll find I keep dreaming one day I'll find the perfect garage sale and somebody.
He says eBay.
Okay, I'll keep looking. Is the book all ripped to shreds where you can barely read it? Usually it's all crinkly and broken up, but
Well,
you
I
know,
mean, my book isn't pristine,
no, but
but
it's
it is. It's none of the books. None of the books. None of the pages are torn, and
yeah.
they're not really discolored. It's obviously an older book.
And no offense to Doc Flamingo here, but look at this. Some of the older Pendragon, that's a niche game. Go
Hmm.
for over $100,
Hmm.
and go try to buy a white box. I dare you.
Right.
I
Better
mean,
have a fat wallet.
go buy a wood grain brown box. Get out of here,
I wouldn't buy that with your money.
dude. If I was loaded beyond belief, I would have one. I absolutely would. If I was like a millionaire, I would own a brown
I
box of
guess if
D&D.
I had that kind of
I
money,
would have to,
it's
but
just
but I wouldn't be like, I don't know. Truth is, I probably collect all kinds of stupid crap. So, like I do.
I'm not a collector.
You're not. That's fair.
Maybe if I was like newly millionaire today, there might be something I'd do that with, but I'm not sure what it would be.
All right. Well, the second topic is going to be a quick one because it's really just a discussion of how close. Can we move on to a new topic or not?
Hold on a second. Talk
Hold
to
on.
the people. I'll be
Oh.
right back.
Okay, Joe's got a boogie. Jason96 asked, I kind of answered him, but I'll answer it on air here. Did you ever play Dragon Dice? I have not, but for some reason I have some of those crazy D8s. So I don't have the Dragon Dice stuff. I remember when it came out and I was not impressed at Gen Con. I said, who wants this? Was not my type of thing. Yes. Yeah, Mac, honestly, he says if he was rich, he would. Mac Thompson says if I was rich, I would own Car Wars and Auto Duel. I would buy so much. I would be a collector. I mean, there's a guy, I think it's the dude that runs Game Hole Con. He has a bar. Top of the bar is what he calls the Game Hole, and he runs the con. It's a con on par with Gary Con in size, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. He has 2 or 3 copies of every AD&D, D&D. Seemed like at least AD&D and second edition, and he has a play copy. He has one that's open and one that's in the shrink. I don't know if he has everything, but he's really close. Now that's a collector. This dude apparently has a collection to die for. He has 6 or 8 white box sets, and I think he's looking for a pristine one. I don't know if I'd go that far, but if I was stupidly wealthy, probably would. I'd probably buy a lot of comic books too, even though I don't read them as much as I used to. Yeah. All the World's Monsters. What is that about? A 1E book? Darthea. I don't know that one. So, but I'd like to have the original Arduin. Shadow and Son talks about that. That'd be cool to have some of the original. Weren't there magazines too for Arduin? I can't remember all that, but when we were younger, we were very narrow. We played the basic blue, basic red and blue boxes, and then we jumped to AD&D pretty quick. We never got the companion set. So some of that stuff passed me by. I'm not the original OG when it comes to D&D. I was about a generation later. Yeah, wow. RPG Grandma, she has the original Arduin. That's cool. That's cool. I was thinking about kickstarting those maps. They weren't too expensive. I saw their Kickstarter. I don't even have Arduin, don't really play it, but I thought, man, it might be worth it. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. We'll just keep talking about the prices of things. Some of the stuff is you get a certain like I don't totally get this. I don't get why fully like there's the first 2 printings of Deities and Demigods. I believe they both have the Cthulhu and Melnibonians, but one of them has something the other one doesn't, and I feel like it's the second printing that's worth more than the first. Can anybody out there tell me if I'm remembering this correctly? Some kind of like thank you from Chaosium or whatever. Yeah, I can't remember that exactly. It's really hard for me to go back and rebuy some of that first edition stuff that I sold. Though part of me wishes I hadn't sold it. I did a big purging of my stuff about 10, 12 years ago to buy a new bicycle and just to get rid of it. And I was kind of sorry. I had a boatload of stuff. Oh, right. Thanks, Darth. I'll check that out. You back, Joe?
I'm back. So yeah, I think that's all I have on the edition stuff.
Yeah, so we're going to move on and talk about Big Geek Con 2024 in Saginaw. It is very close now. When I come back from my reunion, after this week, I'm going down to Indiana for a family reunion. When I come back, I've got to get my adventures together. I got to start, my wife and I and everybody else have to start getting our stuff together. Um, I think. Oh, so it was the second. Okay, Doc Flamingo says the second Deities and Demigods printing took out the added material but retained the license info. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, Max says 2 months away. Please get your tickets on tabletop RPG events.
Yeah, we don't have very many sold this time
No,
around.
it's got to have. We got to have so many to make it happen. So if we get at least 20, we'll make it happen. If we don't get 20 people, we can't go.
We are only at I think 6 or 8.
Yeah, so
tickets.
sign up in a hurry. September 20th to 22nd in Saginaw. We'll be gaming from noon on Friday until 5 on Sunday. It's going to be a great time. I need to. I don't think I showed you, Joe. We have a secret contributor for prizes this year. A friend of ours from high school has sent me another copy. Remember that dragon I showed off a few months back? He sent me a larger one.
Okay.
And he sent me more stuff and some cool tchotchkes to give away. So we're going to have a lot of free stuff just for showing up. Kids are going to have a good, bring your kids. We got good kid stuff. He sent a bunch of stuff. I'm really pleased with that. We're going to give him a shout out. In fact, I have
they look really cool.
They do. You've seen them. They look really good. So anyway, I got my adventure set, and now I'm feeling like I want to run something else instead of the one that I've posted. But I've deleted mine. Joe's got to fix a little something. I want to put those up. There'll be tons of Horde Wars almost every day but Sunday. I'm not sure how much of Sunday they'll be there. We will. I think we're going to be okay, Mac. Don't panic, dude. They did this to us last year. He says, WTF, people, my room is non-refundable. Let's go. Let's buy those tickets, sell them out. It's going to be a great time. Chicks and fire trucks and beer and dice and pizza and chicks. Don't forget the chicks.
There will be some girls there. We might actually have some baby chickens.
We might, yeah. Some baby chickens. Oh, big print. Oh, RPG Grandma's trying to sell me Arduin. Yeah, if you get the big trilogy Arduin book, you get the first 3 original Grimoires plus extra stuff, big print. Yes. Likey. I may have checked it. Joe, I've been very tempted to buy that. Daggone it. But anyway, so I'm running a Dungeons and Delvers 1E game, and I'm running an OSE style game for, I won't say it's just for the kids, but it's meant to be welcome to all ages, preference given to younger kidlings.
Once you get we get the whole stuff straightened out over there for the events.
Yes.
The ones you need to put up apart from yours. And
yes.
I get whatever's straightened out about the dates.
Timing.
I don't know what that is.
Is it dates or times? I thought the times were off a little bit.
The times, I'll make sure.
Hey,
Halcyon.
What's up? That's the man that ran our sweet Fallout game this past Saturday. Well done, dude.
Yeah.
There's one that I wanted to kind of bounce off. I don't know how many folks, I've talked to Joe about this, but I really need a lot of people for this to happen. It may have to wait another year or two. I want to run an Iron GM contest. This would be where people that want to GM, it's kind of a competitive GMing scenario where you're given 3 words, usually a noun, an adjective, and a verb. And you're given that on the day of the event. Each DM is given an hour to prepare an adventure. So it's how well you can think on your feet. And then they're assigned a table of players. During that hour, the players roll up characters. Then you have 3 hours to run your adventure based upon those 3 words. And the players at the table rate how well you did. And the DM that gets the highest rating from their table wins. And it'd be some sort of prize. I think there's more details to it. It's an official thing that's on the internet. It's been done in different cons. I just wanted to run our version of it. Maybe the Iron Geek contest, but something like that. So I don't know if we're going to have enough people to be able to do that, but I would love it. I would like to compete in that, but I know that wouldn't be quite right. It would be if I won, it'd be very suspicious. How did he win? So yeah, but yeah, I think that'd be cool. I hope to have a meet and greet night where we can really hang out and shoot the breeze at the Uno's that's attached to the hotel. Maybe play some board games there for a few hours, either the first night or the second night. But those are the big sort of things I want to have, along with prizes and, food to buy and maybe other games to buy. Patrick might have a game. I might have my old module there. I should have had a second one, but I didn't. But anyway, it's going to be a good time. We had a phenomenal time last year. 40 to 50 people every day was there last time, both days. I hope to get at least that many. I've already put a little bit of word out on Facebook. I think I'm going to try to post at my school if they'll let me. They wouldn't let me last year, but maybe I can do something to talk them into it. But maybe I want people to come
at that one new hobby store.
Yeah, the new hobby store. So anyway, it's really close. So any concerns that you wanted to, or ideas you wanted to share right now? Okay.
No,
yeah, those are some of the big ideas.
We need to get some folks signed up.
Yeah.
We should at least have 10.
Yeah, we'll tell the Cabin Con guys. I'm sure they'll go in there. And if we have 10 people, we can make that work. It'll be a little tight, but I'd like to have a few more folks. There'll be people that'll show up in the
pay at the time of the day.
I am not. It says, is Randy using his module for the Delvers? No, I'm running Michael. David Gwill's Adventure, Flesh Eaters of the Catacombs. I don't know what it's called. Got to look it up again. But if I were to run mine, it would be an OSE type thing. I've run my module before, or at least a portion of it. Ran that once last year, along with the Kid Adventure. So usually with all the stuff going on, I'm kind of lucky if I can get in 2 or 3 sessions to run. So last year was pretty good. Oh no, Darth says, I'm starting to worry I won't be able to make it. That would be sad. You would be very much missed, Darth. We got a guy's got a good idea for a Magic tournament, so we'd love to see you there too. So
yeah.
But if for some reason it does fall through, I guess we'd refund the money.
Yeah.
And if Max still has to come, I'm going to tell you right now publicly, if you show up, I'll run a game with you. I'll come over to the hotel. I'll run a couple games for you that weekend, even if the con falls apart. Yeah. But I can't imagine that will happen. I think we'll be good. It just makes us nervous like last year. We're like, are we going to have enough? We're going to have enough. And then we had plenty.
Yeah.
So, last minute stuff. So don't panic yet. Mac, we'll tell you when it's time to panic.
Time to panic.
Time to panic. All right, man. So, anything else?
No.
All the places you can find us and all the cool links are down in the show notes. I feel like we're done, brother.
I think we're done.
What do you think? Okay.
I think we're done.
Oh, Max says we'll just play Munchkin and get hammered. Okay. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do.
Let's play Munchkin. I'll watch you get hammered.
I doubt if I'll get hammered. I'm not a hammered kind of guy. But I would hang out with Mac while he got hammered.
Yes.
All right, man. Well, you guys have a good night. Thanks for showing up. This is Randy.
And this is Joe.
And remember, if you can't be big like us, then be geeks like us.